flooding, so we're going to continue to watch for that threat later on. Well, you know, we talked earlier about going into the water to explore shark behavior, and we've both done it, right?
Yeah, about, I guess it's 14 years ago, I did a shark dive for this network, a program called Atmospheres, and I was in San Diego. They were chumming the waters for little blue sharks, and this one about 6 to 8 feet, a good size for a blue shark. But definitely, it was, you know, they were baiting for the sharks. And there's all this hysteria about sharks right now. But in the ocean, open ocean, these are some beautiful creatures.
They really are. I love the blue shark, the tone of it. And he looks very... He's very cool, calm, and collective. Yeah. He's just going for an easy stroll.
Unlike your adventure in South Africa.
This was South Africa, my video. So I'm in the cage there. They throw out the chum. As you said, they're baiting them in. And these are great whites. These were about, I would say, 12 to 14 feet, and they get them to jump, and
so little
they
guys.
do tricks. Yeah.
The juvenile sharks are, I mean, you're talking 12 to 14 feet. My shark was 6 to 8, so half your size. But we're talking the great white is that's that alpha dog of the sea out there.
They're the man-eaters, and they get up close and excessively personal.
And it's always scary. You think about sharks, the movie Jaws.
Yeah.
You know, people wouldn't go in the water for years.
And this is why.
And now we have all this rash of shark bites across North Carolina. But we're trying to drive home the point that, you know, these creatures have always been in the ocean. And it's just that we happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Right. A bigger threat to you is just driving your car versus being in the ocean.
Absolutely. And these are shark mistaken identity. They just are looking for fish. So they're really not man-eaters. They're not hunting you. So just be careful out there at the beach and have fun.
Hey, stay tuned. Weather Geeks coming up right now.
Currently in our area, 87 degrees, under mostly cloudy skies. Today, sun and clouds mixed. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 88. Tonight, cloudy intervals. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. Low 78. Monday, intervals of clouds and sunshine. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 90. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Funny thing is that back east, everybody's drowning. Colorado's got all this snow, and California's burning up. Wait till they start seeing the peaches and the nectarines, the tomatoes and lettuce and corn that is being produced here in the state of California. When they start paying the high prices, then they're gonna say, what happened?
And welcome to Weather Geeks. And yeah, that's really some serious stuff. We had to go there on Weather Geeks this week, and this is an important topic, the drought and the water situation in California. And we have a key person, Dr. Jay Famulietti. He's a professor of Earth System Science at the University of California, Irvine. And he's also a senior water scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. Jay, thank you so much for joining us and talking about this timely topic.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and Jay, as you know, I'm a former NASA guy as well, and NASA studies Earth science, but people don't realize that. Before we get into it, really, what are we talking about NASA scientists studying the Earth? I thought we studied other planets. How are you talking about water?
Well, you know, the space-based perspective is a really unique one. And so, right, NASA does space stuff, and satellites are space stuff. And so when you turn those satellites around and you look at the Earth, you get this really unique perspective that you can't otherwise get. You can't really get it from observations on the ground. And so, you know, NASA Earth science satellites have revealed a tremendous amount of information about how the Earth works, and a lot of it has to do with water, flooding, drought, water availability, groundwater depletion. So NASA's been making a huge contribution in this area.
Yeah, and speaking of water, let's just jump right into it, because you wrote a very provocative op-ed in the Los Angeles Times basically saying that the reservoirs in California are 1 year from being out of water. I mean, were you really trying to be provocative, or is this the real deal?
No, not really. It is the real deal. I just try to tell the truth in my op-eds. It's not the first one that I've written, and if you look back at the others, you know, they basically are saying the same thing. We have 2 years of water left. We have 18 months of water left. We have a year's worth of water left. The message of that op-ed was really that we have no snow in the mountains. We have very little water left in our reservoirs, and so that means we'll be relying more and more heavily on our groundwater supply in the years to come, in the months and the years to come if the drought continues. And, you know, effectively, that groundwater is unmanaged at this point in time. So we're in a very precarious situation in terms of sustaining our water supply for the long term.
Now, you talked about groundwater and snowpack, and many people remember learning about the water cycle back in 4th grade. But all these are coming into play now. In terms of California, what percentage of water comes from snowpack versus groundwater versus water supply on the surface?
Right. So right now, actually in an average year, we use about 66% of our water comes from the snowpack, comes from water in the reservoirs, comes from surface water, and the other third comes from groundwater. But right now in California, because of the drought, that ratio has been flipped on its head, and we're probably about 25% surface water, and more like 75% groundwater. And that ratio is going to be, you know, it's going to change and be progressively more groundwater as we work through this year and our reservoir levels decline.
And as you were talking about this op-ed, which certainly got people's attention, I know you've been in quite a few places getting the word out, but how do you really arrive at this conclusion that we're 1 year here? I mean, what type of data, what type of methods?
Oh, no, okay, so there's nothing really controversial about that. That was just a statement about 1 year of water left in our surface water reservoirs. Of course, our reservoirs never really hold more than about 3 years of water. So it's no surprise that after 3.5, you know, in our 4th year of drought, that our reservoirs are pretty empty. There's no rainfall and snow melt to replenish them. So it's just, you know, we just look at from the Department of Water Resources, we just see the numbers that are there in terms of reservoir levels. So it's not, it's a fact. It's just that most people were not aware of it.
Right, and that's a great point. And one of the things I try to talk to people about, making this relevant to citizens in the United States, if they had a salad today or plan to, or if they are eating vegetables, more than likely something that they're eating probably came from the state of California. There's a good chance of it anyway. Talk a little, and we have a graphic up just showing the importance of this region for the United States vegetable and nut crop. Talk about some of the biggest users of water and the stressors on the water system.
Right. Well, so it is the most productive agricultural region in the United States, and one of the most productive in the world. And the food that we grow hits the tables of probably every American and also around the world. But that takes a lot of water to have that level of productivity. And so agriculture in California and really around the world uses about 80% of the available water.
Right. And when we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about the GRACE satellite and some of the things you do there. But what is the role of wells and some of the things that are happening there in terms of trying to tap into some of this water that's under the ground there? I mean, are there any challenges there? I know there's been a big sort of emphasis in drilling in that region.
Right. Well, and that's because as we deplete the groundwater supply, the water table gets lower and lower and lower, further from the surface. And so we have to drill. That means that progressively more wells are running dry, and we have to drill deeper and deeper wells, which is very expensive.
Yeah, not only expensive, and I read something somewhere about also subsidence or sinking ground there in California.
Right.
Tell us about how that's related.
That's right. So subsidence it's not unlike what happens when we let air out of a bicycle tire. The tire deflates, right? The air is pushing out the sides of the tire. Water plays that same role. It actually holds the ground up. And so when we pull water out of the ground, in some places, not everywhere, the ground actually deflates. It's mostly in places that have clay minerals in the hydrogeology in the aquifers, and they flatten out, and the ground subsides. In some places, it's happening at a rate of a foot per year or more.
Wow. I mean, in a nutshell, we don't have a lot of time left in this particular segment. Are people taking this seriously out there? We saw some water restrictions from the governor. Are people taking this seriously?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're beginning to. I don't think that they would have without the executive order from the governor. So I think that really was an attention grabber, and it lets people know that it's a serious situation. And now I think the next frontier is thinking about how we can restrict the agricultural water usage.
Okay, and so we're going to get more into this after the break, but next we're going to talk about what Jay sees as some of the solutions, and later we're going to talk about Grace. But next, our Geek of the Week.
Dr. Michael Brewer is our Geek of the Week. He's chief of the Customer Engagement Branch of the National Centers for Environmental Information. Dr. Brewer studies the causes and impacts of drought events and how they differ. He also authors the National Drought Summary each week. So what is a drought scientist's favorite meteorological term? Precipitation. Dr. Michael Brewer, our Geek of the Week.
Leave early. Go roam. Sleep in. Sleep out. Stargaze. Dream big. Wander more. Care less. Beat sunrise. Chase sunset. Do it all on us. Get your first month's payment plus 5 years wear and tear coverage. Make the most of summer with Volvo.
Are you missing out on life because you're putting off neck or back surgery? Call Laser Spine Institute, the leader in minimally invasive spine surgery, to learn how a less than 1-inch incision can have you up and walking within a few hours of surgery, free from chronic back pain, and with no hospital stay and no lengthy recovery. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with spinal stenosis, bulging or herniated disc, sciatica, or other chronic conditions, call today for your MRI review.
There were times my boss would send me home because I was in excruciating pain. Going to Laser Spine Institute, I go in, I have the procedure, and walk out a changed person, good to go back to work. I can't tell you how much happier I am. It's changed my life completely.
If you've been told you might need neck or back surgery, call 1-855-450-BACK for your MRI review.
Laser Spine Institute, a less than 1-inch incision, a lifetime of standing tall.
The Weather Channel's most watched original program,
and it just hit us,
is back.
This is just the beginning of what's to come.
Currently in our area, 87 degrees, under mostly cloudy skies. Today, sun and clouds mixed. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 88. Tonight, cloudy intervals. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. Low 78. Monday, intervals of clouds and sunshine. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 90. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Of Fat Guys in the Woods, tonight at 9 on the Weather Channel.
It's the most wonderful week. It starts the 5th of July. It's the most wonderful week of the
Shark Week starts tonight at 8 on Discovery.
Let's do this. Don't think it's possible? Think again. With 4th of July event savings, the upgrades are better than ever. So let's go for the bells and the whistles. Fridges that open like this. And whoa, did you see that? It's time to reset our expectations. Right now, it's all within reach. Let's do this. Get a Samsung washer dryer or fridge, each just $9.98. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, no.
WeatherTech floor liners are created to be the ultimate vehicle floor protection in the world. Designed with channels to catch and hold spills until you wash them away. Go to WeatherTech.com and order your perfect fit floor liners today. The most advanced floor protection for your vehicle is at WeatherTech.com.
Staying in there.
What you see here is tomato field that's in production because it has water, which translates into product, jobs, benefit to communities. And without it, what you see over here is a fallow field with none of that.
And we are back with Dr. Jay Fambletti from University of California, Irvine, and also NASA JPL. And we're talking about the water situation in California, implications for the United States, and the drought. And before I get your take, Jay, on what we need to do about this, put into perspective for us this drought. I mean, we've seen droughts before in California and here in the U.S. I mean, it's a drought, but how does it stack up with previous drought?
Well, it's a unique combination of high temperature and a lack of precipitation. It is the driest. The last 3 years have been the driest 3 in 1,000 years. So it's unique in that situation, but it's unique in another situation too, and that is the size of the population. And so the combination of the lack of available surface water and the much greater population, say, than the last drought in the late 70s, has made this a very, very challenging one for water managers and in their efforts to get water to all of us.
Yeah, that's a great point. Many of our Weather Geeks viewers might know that we have meteorological drought, hydrological drought, agricultural drought, and the one you mentioned, socioeconomic drought. We saw that somewhat here in Georgia as well. I mean, what do we do, Jay? I mean, if you were in charge, I mean, what do we need to do going forward?
Right. Well, I'm glad I'm not in charge because it's it's really a tough problem, and I would hate to be a water manager. And I think our water managers are doing a great job, and I think that our leadership, our government leadership here in California is just exceptional, very focused on water issues. But I think that there are a few things major things. First of all, there's what we can do, which is conserve both in the home and in agriculture. So the first thing that we need to do is really work on conservation and efficiency because it's cheap and it's easy. But after that, we really need to begin thinking about how we're going to close that gap between supply and demand. If we can't do it with conservation and improved efficiency, then we have to start thinking about things like desalination. We have to start thinking about things like more sewage recycling. We have to be thinking about more efficient or maybe more appropriate crops for California that can survive without as much water, so drought tolerant crops, maybe saline tolerant crops, maybe changes in water pricing. All these things I think are on the table.
Now, you mentioned desalination, and we often hear that in these types of situations, but it's not trivial. There are costs involved. What are some of the negatives of desalination plants?
Yeah, I think right now the negatives are really outweighing the positives. The negatives are that it's very expensive and that it's very energy intensive, and that energy intensity means that there's may be exacerbating the problem that got us here in terms of global change and how that's impacting the water cycle. But maybe the biggest thing is what to do with the residue, the byproduct of the process, the brines that get left behind when you push the salt water through a membrane, filter out that salt. You're left with that very highly concentrated salty brine. It is fairly toxic. It's not quite like nuclear waste, but it's pretty close, and we have to do something with it. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I think you just taught us all something there. And we're going to get into more of this discussion after the next break, Jay, and we're going to talk about a tool that Jay and his colleagues use to understand the changing water cycle, and that's the GRACE satellite. You're going to geek out on this. It's an amazing system. Next on Weather Geeks.
Scotch Blue Painter's Tape, the one with 3M adhesive technology. To resist paint bleed. For clean removal and amazing results the first time. Pull off a better paint job with Scotch Blue Painter's Tape.
Knows her way around a miniskirt. Can run in high heels. Must be a supermodel, right? You don't know ARP. Because AARP is making finding the career you love no matter what your age a real possibility. Go to aarp.org/possibilities to check out Life Reimagined for tools, support, and connections. If you don't think I've still got it when you think AARP, then you don't know ARP. Find more surprising possibilities and get to know us at aarp.org/possibilities.
Benny's the oldest dog in the shelter. He needed help all day, so I adopted him. When my back pain flared up, we both felt it. I tried Tylenol, but it was 6 pills a day. With Aleve, it's just 2 pills all day. Now I'm back.
Aleve, all day strong.
What's this? A box. It takes worn out things and makes them better.
It's our biggest breakthrough yet. We're taking worn out batteries and making them into something strong. Energizer Eco Advanced, world's first long-lasting battery made with 4% recycled batteries.
The thing is, people think boys are loud and immature and don't care about feelings, but they're wrong. Thanks.
Kleenex. Someone needs one. It's the moment that launched a superstar.
Goodness gracious.
Now with the world watching, Jordan Spieth returns. The John Deere Classic begins Thursday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Golf Channel.
Thank you.
Don't let DSL slow you down. Get the fastest in-home Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Switch to the X1 Triple Play today. Call or go online.
I'm Peter Tickton of the Tickton Law Group. What is Star Law? It's our phone number. If you're injured in a crash, dial Star Law on your cell phone. When you call us from the scene, we will send someone to help you. We're not only here for you, we'll be there for you. Just dial Star Law.
The Tickton Law Group. Remember, after 911, there's one thing more. You've got to call Star Law.
A new episode of Fat Guys in the Woods, tonight at 9 on the Weather Channel.
In a matter of seconds, your life can change.
We have kids still into school.
And it just hit us.
This was it.
The Weather Channel's most watched original program is back.
Things are just going everywhere. It was a nightmare.
And then it was silent.
This is just the beginning of what's to come.
Currently in our area, 86 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, sunshine and clouds mixed. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 88. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. Low 78. Monday, intervals of clouds and sunshine. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 90. Here's our 7-day outlook.
And we are back talking about water and drought with a former colleague of mine. I spent a good deal of my career at NASA working on satellite missions, primarily TRIM and GPM. Jay, we also have a new mission launched in 2002 or so called the GRACE mission. Tell us about GRACE and how it works, because I am fascinated myself as a former rocket scientist, so to speak, with how this works.
Yeah, you're right. So it is pretty cool. I agree. And I'm going to use my hands here and show you how it works. So GRACE is actually 2 satellites. They are about the size of a crushed minivan each. They are up about, they orbit about 400 kilometers, and they're separated by about 200 kilometers. And they actually orbit around the poles. They follow each other around. They're not taking pictures of the ground. It's not an optical satellite. What happens is, as the satellites fly past a region that has more mass on the ground, say because of a big snowstorm in the Sierras, which unfortunately we didn't have this year, the gravitational tug on the satellites is greater because the mass on the ground is greater, and the satellites get pulled down a little bit in their orbit. Likewise, when they're flying over a place that has lost mass because of a big drought, like in the Central Valley, or groundwater depletion in the Central Valley, the gravitational tug is a little bit less, and the satellites fly a little bit higher in their orbit. So they're responding to how much water is on the ground, just like a scale. If you step on a scale, if you're heavier, you crush the scale more than a lighter person. So by keeping track of the position of these satellites, which I'll put away now, by keeping track of the height and the separation between the 2 satellites, we can actually map out the regions of the world that are gaining and losing water mass on a monthly basis.
And where did you first start to look for some of these changes? I know we didn't start in California and some of the things we were learning.
No.
I know they've been around the world.
So yeah, so first of all, it took a while for the picture to emerge, and I although this is sort of a lost analogy, it's kind of like watching a photograph develop, and you look at the data and it's getting more and more and more clear. The first place to really express itself as having severe water scarcity, water stress, was India, Northwest India, and that was the first paper that we wrote. And then once we recognized that what was happening in India was groundwater depletion, then we could look at our maps and realize, oh, maybe that's groundwater depletion over there in China. Maybe that's groundwater depletion over there in the Middle East. What's happening here in California? So it was an unfolding process, and one that was really an eye-opener for us.
Yeah, and by the way, we should probably tell our viewers, what does GRACE stand for?
Yeah, GRACE stands for Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment.
Right.
So really what GRACE is doing is mapping Earth's gravity field every month and looking at the difference between the gravity fields each month, and those minute changes are caused by the movement of water on Earth's surface.
And tell us briefly, Jay, are there other uses for the GRACE satellite beyond sort of water biospheric studies?
That's right. I think maybe the biggest contribution of the GRACE mission has been tracking the melting of the Greenland and the Antarctic ice sheets and their contribution to global sea level rise.
Now, as we sort of wrap up the show, and we want to thank you again for joining us. I know you're in demand with this provocative topic. What hope is there? I mean, as if you had, tell the Weather Channel viewers, Weather Geeks fans, what would you leave us with in an optimistic light?
Well, we're not really going to change what's happening with global change, but if we all work together, we can manage our way through to a sustainable water future. We have the technology, we even have the political will, and now I think it's up to us, the population here in California and really across the U.S., to really understand that water availability is changing, especially in the southwestern U.S. Things aren't like they used to be. We have to make that mental shift, but we can do it.
Yeah, and that's where we want to end it, Jay. I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's been a great show, and hopefully people learned something. And remember, you can find Weather Geeks on Twitter, and we also have a Facebook site. So let us know what you think about the show, and look for some of the clips from past shows on Weather Geeks. Join us next week. We're always here.
My budget used to keep me up at night.
How are you going to pay for the kid's new Dell laptop for school? And
Hey, chill out. But now we're resting easy with fingerhut.com. Get low monthly payments and the credit you deserve.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, isn't it time to let the real you shine through? Introducing Otezla, a Premolast. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. Some people who took Otezla saw 75% clearer skin after 4 months. And Otezla's prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't take Otezla if you are allergic to any of its ingredients. Otezla may increase the risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Side effects may include diarrhea, nausea, upper respiratory tract infection, and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ask your doctor about Otezla today. Otezla. Show more of you.
When the day arrives a little earlier and lingers a little later, you can be sure it's summer. And for this bounty, so little is expected in return. Only that we find ways, big and small, to milk every last second of it. To use a little imagination and make a whole lot of memories. Low prices every day on everything you need to get away from it all. Walmart.
There's still time to enjoy great 4th of July savings at Lowe's, like up to 35% off select major appliances, $396 and more. Plus, get up to $40 off all paint, stain, and select Rust-Oleum Restore. Don't miss out on summer's best savings at Lowe's.
Sometimes it's nice to have a little help redecorating, and Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries offer all kinds. Their designers will even come to your place for free. Let's see what they can do with great Aunt Enid's Victorian vase and my favorite colors. I guess the question really is, what can't they do?
Now, during our red, white, and blue sale. 0% interest for 36 months.
Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Live life comfortably.
Oh, man. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
You're covered, Harry.
Oh, man. You got to do it like this. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey, George. Hey, Jim.
Amateurs, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hi, Travis.
Well, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
I'm here for you, Lonnie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is a new one.
State Farm agents are there whenever you need them.
China last year put in more solar power in 1 year than the U.S. has in its entire history. If you put these technological advances together, plus others in the automobile sector, it becomes clear that we can basically eliminate pollution from the planet. And the cost is approximately the same as continuing on a high pollution path. That's why I'm optimistic.
The Weather Channel presents 25 Unexpected Voices. Hear their stories at climate25.com.
Currently in our area, 86 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, sunshine and clouds mixed. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 88. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Monday, intervals of clouds and sunshine. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 90. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Scientists Walk Into a Bar is a show where we explain the weather.
Welcome to Awesome. This is all really badass.
There's no need to show off.
This is about how far you can push yourself.
I have made
fire! Time to sweat, boys. Big time. Let's get this thing right.
Episode of Fat Guys in the Woods, tonight at 9, only on the Weather Channel.
Today's forecast calls for the mother of all storms. A maelstrom of rocky debris, followed by searing 575-degree temperatures, hyper-hurricane winds, 600-foot-high tsunamis, and thick clouds of acid rain.
This is the weather for the day. A giant space rock hits planet Earth.
Half debris coming from the impact site, setting a firestorm.
It has happened before, and it can happen again.
No place on Earth is safe when one of these giant rocks hits.
An impact of that scale may mean the extinction of the human species.
Take cover as we prepare you for the single greatest natural disaster to threaten Earth. Earth's is just one kind of weather. On other planets, there are storms beyond the imagination, climates and conditions that we hope to never see on Earth. But could they happen here? And if so, could we survive deadliest space weather? Los Angeles, California. It looks like a picture-perfect day. Not a cloud in sight. But the forecast quickly turns deadly. A gigantic rock plunges from space hundreds of times faster than a speeding bullet. It punched through the Earth's atmosphere and struck the ground with the energy of 20 million tons of TNT. The metropolitan area of Los Angeles is completely obliterated. And the destruction is far from over. Seconds later, and 360 miles to the north, a fireball of hot vapor and debris reaches San Francisco, followed by a massive earthquake. Another city is in near ruins. The aftermath of the cosmic impact is felt across the entire United States. Soot travels thousands of miles and covers places as far as New York. This is not an actual event, but it could be if Earth is struck by a large meteor, one of the deadliest types of space weather.
To think of meteors as a form of weather, or at least contributing to weather and climate, is actually quite appropriate. The forecast is continuous rain of rock and ice with occasional showers, right? So it's almost a weather phenomenon.
To understand their threat, we must look into the past. Meteors are among the most frightening forces of nature. For billions of years, they've triggered the worst weather imaginable and are predicted to do so again in the future. Today, most of these rocky remains from the formation of our solar system lurk in the asteroid belt between Jupiter and Mars. But occasionally, one gets jostled out and heads on a collision course with Earth. While in space, a rock is called a meteoroid. But when one passes through the Earth's atmosphere, the impact pressure causes it to heat up and form a fireball known as a meteor. Our planet's thick atmosphere acts as a protective blanket and vaporizes most meteors. But rocks occasionally slip through. When they strike our planet, they become meteorites. And these mysterious chunks of rock and metal can wreak havoc on our climate.
Meteors can cause severe heating in the atmosphere. They will loft dust into the atmosphere for long periods of time. So at least on the short term, it can have some very severe weather impacts, and over the long term, potentially climate as well.
Since the formation of the solar system, Earth and other inner planets have been pummeled by millions of space rocks. Today, less than 200 impact craters remain visible on Earth. Our weather, such as wind, rain, and snow, has erased most of our violent history. But we can count the craters on our nearby moon to estimate how many times our planet was also hit in the past.
On the moon, you've got no atmosphere, you've got no weather, you've got no erosion. You're looking at the cratering history just by looking at its surface.
On Earth, we're continually reminded that meteorites pose a serious threat. Over the last few decades, amateur video has even captured space rocks crashing into Earth. In 1992, a fireball streaked across the night sky and finally smashed into a car in Peekskill, New York. And every few hundred years, larger meteorites known as asteroids can impact our planet and affect us in a big way.
The result of a meteor impact depends on how much energy is in the meteor when it comes in. Very large ones, very fast ones, very dense ones deposit a lot of energy.
Astronomer Michael Mishna explores the deadly potential of different types of meteorites by dropping spheres of various sizes and densities into a pile of sand to demonstrate the craters they produce.
Whoa! Whoa! Look at that! All right, let's go see what damage we did. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, this looks great.
The crater from the small, dense steel ball is not much bigger than the ball itself. The bowling ball makes a more impressive impact.
The size of the crater that it produced is quite a bit larger than the ball itself, and that's typically what we expect. Craters that come in from space are generally 10 to 20 times the size of the impactor themselves. As we move to the largest of the balls we had here, the medicine ball, the damage that it did was much more significant than the others. The size of the crater is many, many times larger than the impactor itself, and it's also quite a bit deeper. That's because this medicine ball is very, very dense. If we were to take something like this medicine ball and blow it up in size to maybe 1 to 2 miles in diameter, the impactor would create a crater that was large enough to destroy an entire city.
Extraterrestrial rocks can do more than form craters or level a city. They can ignite a climate disaster beyond human imagination. Earth has endured some extreme disasters: hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, forest fires. But imagine all these disasters happening all at once, all across the globe. Scientists think that about every 100 million years, Earth is struck by an asteroid massive enough to trigger such an apocalyptic storm. The one that wiped out the dinosaurs hit 65 million years ago. So how much time does that leave us?
It's the most wonderful week. It starts the 5th of July. It's the most wonderful week of the
Shark Week starts tonight at 8 on Discovery.
When heartburn comes creeping up on you, fight back with relief so smooth, it's fast. Tums Smoothie starts dissolving the instant it touches your tongue and neutralizes stomach acid at the source. Smoothies, only from Tums.
Flour-pressed soap, homemade hot sauce, artisanal pickles, whatever those are. Well, we're glad handcrafted is finally cool. Because at Firestone Complete Auto Care, we've been handcrafting since 1926. Robots might build cars, but it takes human hands to keep them running right. And that's a guarantee, backed by our fixed right promise. Firestone Complete Auto Care. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Let's worry-proof our walls with paint made to stand up to this and look beautiful for years. Let's do this. Right now, get $10 off 1-gallon cans of Behr paints and stains. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
Looks like the Garcias got a new car.
What'd they get?
I don't know.
Sure doesn't look like a Buick.
Buick.
I'm outside. Where are you?
I'm right here. I'm in the Buick.